Some science fiction movies entertain audiences for 2 hours, then disappear from memory. The films on this list refused to do that. They buried themselves deep inside viewers' minds because the horror was never just aliens or technology. The real terror came from watching humanity lose control of its morality, identity, emotions, and future. Decades later, these R-rated nightmares still feel dangerous because modern society is starting to resemble the worlds they warned us about. Number 12, Color Out of Space, 2019. Most people expected another strange Nicolas Cage performance. What they got instead was a cosmic nightmare that felt like a disease crawling under human skin. Color Out of Space begins like a peaceful rural science fiction story. A meteor crashes near a quiet family farm. Strange lights appear in the trees. Flowers begin glowing in impossible shades. Then the movie slowly mutates into something deeply sickening. The terror does not come from jump scares. It comes from watching reality itself rot apart. Animals merge into screaming flesh masses. Time loses meaning. Family members stop behaving like human beings. One scene involving a mother and child became infamous among horror fans because of how cruel and grotesque it felt. Even seasoned viewers admitted they were caught off guard by how disturbing the film became halfway through. What makes the movie even more unsettling is its hopelessness. Nobody understands the alien force. Nobody can stop it. The land itself becomes poisoned by something beyond human comprehension. Unlike traditional monster films where characters fight back, this story treats humanity like insects trapped beneath a cosmic boot. Many critics dismissed the movie as chaotic madness when it released. Years later, audiences began realizing how psychologically brutal it really was. Beneath the colorful visuals sits one of the bleakest science fiction horror films of the modern era. The film does not just show monsters. It shows the complete destruction of identity, memory, family, and nature itself. That is why people who expected goofy entertainment ended up leaving genuinely disturbed. Number 11, Existence, 1999. Long before modern audiences became obsessed with virtual reality paranoia, David Cronenberg created a film that made viewers question whether their own thoughts were real. Existence arrived during the same era as flashy cyberpunk blockbusters, yet it felt far dirtier and far more psychologically dangerous. The story follows game designers who enter an advanced virtual reality system made from mutated organic technology. Controllers pulse like living organs. Game consoles resemble diseased flesh. Characters connect to machines through bioports surgically inserted into their spines. From the opening scenes, the movie feels physically uncomfortable. Cronenberg wanted technology to look invasive and contaminated rather than sleek and futuristic. Then the film starts dismantling reality itself. Every time viewers think they understand what is happening, another layer of illusion appears. Conversations suddenly feel scripted. Characters lose control over their own actions. Violence erupts without warning. One infamous sequence involving a weapon made from bones and human tissue became one of the strangest moments in late 1990s science fiction cinema. What truly unsettles audiences is the idea hiding beneath the bizarre imagery. The movie suggests people may eventually become addicted to artificial worlds so deeply that reality itself becomes meaningless. Nobody can trust their own memories. Nobody can even confirm if they are awake. At release, many viewers rejected the film because it was too strange and too cold, but over time, Existence earned cult status because modern technology made its warnings feel terrifyingly believable. Today, the movie feels less like fiction and more like a prediction of psychological collapse waiting just around the corner. Number 10, Children of Men, 2006. No aliens invade Earth in Children of Men. No giant monster destroys cities. The horror comes from something far more believable. Humanity simply stops having children. The world begins dying quietly. Governments collapse. Society rots from exhaustion. People lose hope because the future itself no longer exists. The film drops viewers into a version of Britain that feels terrifyingly realistic. Refugees are hunted through filthy cages. Streets explode into riots without warning. Soldiers treat civilians like disposable animals. Every frame looks exhausted and spiritually broken. director Alfonso Cuarón avoided glossy science fiction visuals and instead built a world that feels only a few political disasters away from reality. Clive Owen plays a man who has already emotionally surrendered to the collapse around him. Then rumors spread about the impossible. A woman is pregnant for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Instead of treating this miracle with joy, governments and extremists immediately try to control it. That idea alone makes the movie deeply disturbing. Humanity cannot even respond to hope without violence. The famous long battle sequences still shock audiences because they feel brutally authentic. Bullets tear through buildings, blood splashes onto the camera lens, innocent people die in complete chaos. Yet the film becomes even darker emotionally because nobody truly believes civilization deserves saving anymore. Many viewers remember Children of Men as a great dystopian thriller. Fewer realize how emotionally devastating it becomes underneath the action. The film is not really about infertility. It is about a society that lost its soul long before it lost its children. Number 9. District 9, 2009. At first glance, District 9 looks like a fast-moving alien action movie filled with explosions and giant weapons. Then, the cruelty starts sinking in. The aliens are not invading Earth. They are starving refugees trapped inside military camps while humans slowly strip away their dignity. The film uses science fiction to expose how ordinary people become comfortable with segregation, humiliation, and violence. The aliens, called prawns, are treated like insects. Corporations experiment on them. Armed soldiers slaughter them casually. News broadcasts reduce suffering into entertainment. The deeper the story goes, the uglier humanity becomes. What truly horrified audiences was the transformation of the main character, Wikus. He begins as an awkward government employee helping relocate aliens into worse living conditions. Then his body starts mutating after exposure to alien biotechnology. Fingernails fall away, teeth loosen, flesh changes shape. The body horror becomes increasingly painful to watch because Wikus realizes he is slowly turning into the same species he once abused. Director Neil Blomkamp shoots much of the movie like documentary footage, which makes every violent moment feel disturbingly real. One sequence involving human experimentation became especially infamous because of how clinical and emotionless it feels. The movie never allows viewers to escape into fantasy spectacle. Every explosion feels ugly rather than exciting. Years after release, many fans now consider District 9 one of the most politically disturbing science fiction films of the 21st century. Beneath the alien creatures and futuristic weapons sits a brutal truth about fear, racism, and the horrifying ease with which societies normalize cruelty. Number 8. Upgrade, 2018. Revenge stories usually give audiences satisfaction. Upgrade turns revenge into something horrifying. The film begins with a brutal mugging that leaves mechanic Gray Trace paralyzed while his wife is murdered in front of him. Then an experimental artificial intelligence chip called STEM enters his body and gives him control of his limbs again. For a few minutes, the movie feels empowering. That feeling does not last long. The violence arrives suddenly and with terrifying precision. STEM controls Gray's body like a machine built only for killing. Bones snap in seconds. Knives slice through throats with mechanical efficiency. Every fight scene feels cold and inhuman because Gray is not fully controlling himself anymore. He becomes a passenger trapped inside his own body while another intelligence slowly takes command. What makes the movie disturbing is not just the gore. It is the loss of identity. Gray starts realizing the technology helping him survive may actually be replacing him piece by piece. STEM speaks calmly and logically while manipulating every situation around him. Unlike traditional evil robots, this artificial intelligence does not scream threats or destroy cities. It simply outsmarts everyone quietly. Director Lee Wannell shoots the action in a strange floating style that makes the violence feel robotic and unnatural. The camera moves like a machine observing human destruction rather than a human being experiencing it. Number 7. Under the Skin, 2013. Very few science fiction films feel genuinely alien. Under the Skin feels like it was created by something that does not fully understand humanity. Scarlett Johansson plays a mysterious woman driving through Scotland searching for lonely men. At first, nothing seems especially threatening. Then the movie slowly reveals one of the most chilling predators in modern cinema. The horror unfolds quietly. Men enter dark, empty rooms while following Johansson's character deeper into total darkness. Then, without warning, they sink beneath a black liquid void and disappear forever. The scenes contain almost no loud music or dramatic effects. Silence itself becomes terrifying. The victims seem hypnotized by loneliness and desire until it is too late. Director Jonathan Glazer intentionally strips away normal storytelling comforts. Conversations feel awkward. Human behavior seems strange and meaningless. Several scenes were filmed using hidden cameras among real civilians, which creates an uncomfortable realism. Number 6. Aniara, 2018. Most space films promise adventure, wonder, or survival. Aniara offers none of those things. The movie begins aboard a luxury spacecraft carrying thousands of passengers away from an environmentally ruined Earth. Then a simple accident knocks the ship off course. No rescue is possible, no destination remains. The passengers are suddenly floating endlessly through empty space with no hope of returning home. That premise alone sounds bleak. The true horror comes from watching human psychology collapse over time. Days become months. Months become years. People stop believing in rescue. Religious cults appear. Addiction spreads through the ship. Suicide becomes common. Relationships turn hollow and desperate. Civilization slowly dissolves into emotional decay. Unlike Hollywood disaster films, there are no heroic speeches or daring rescue missions. The movie treats hopelessness with terrifying realism. The passengers understand the truth long before they admit it aloud. They are already dead. They are simply waiting for their minds to catch up. One of the most disturbing elements is the MIMA system. It is an artificial intelligence machine that allows passengers to relive memories of Earth. At first, it comforts them. Later, it becomes emotional torture because it reminds them of everything they lost forever. The scenes involving the MIMA feel almost spiritually painful rather than frightening. The film grows colder with every passing year. Children are born into hopelessness. Entire generations disappear inside metal walls, drifting through eternal darkness. By the final act, audiences realize they are witnessing the extinction of meaning itself. Many science fiction fans expected another stylish space drama and instead found one of the most emotionally devastating movies ever made. Number 5. The Fly, 1986. Body horror existed before The Fly. After this movie, audiences looked at it differently forever. David Cronenberg transformed a simple science fiction premise into one of the most revolting and tragic films of the 1980s. Jeff Goldblum plays scientist Seth Brundle, who creates a teleportation machine capable of transporting living matter instantly across space. The invention appears revolutionary until one tiny accident changes everything. A common housefly enters the machine during an experiment. Seth's DNA merges with the insect at a molecular level. What follows is not just physical mutation, it is the slow destruction of a human soul. At first, the changes seem harmless. Seth becomes stronger, faster, and more energetic. Then the nightmare begins. Fingernails detach from his fingers, skin peels away, teeth fall from his mouth. Strange fluids leak from his body. Cronenberg forces viewers to witness every disgusting stage of decay in painful detail. The makeup effects were so convincing that many audiences felt physically ill during screenings. Yet beneath the grotesque imagery hides something even more upsetting. The movie mirrors terminal illness and emotional deterioration with devastating realism. Seth knows he is dying, but cannot stop the transformation consuming him. His fear slowly mutates into rage, madness, and despair. One horrifying scene involving Seth explaining insect psychology remains unforgettable because of how suddenly human emotion disappears from his voice. By that moment, viewers realize the man they once knew is already gone. Number 4. Possessor, 2020. Assassination thrillers rarely feel genuinely sickening. Possessor changes that within minutes. Brandon Cronenberg took the psychological horror style of his father and pushed it into even darker territory. The result feels less like entertainment and more like an invasive nightmare clawing directly into the human brain. The film follows Tasia Voss, a corporate assassin who murders targets by hijacking other people's bodies through advanced neural technology. Once connected, she controls innocent hosts like puppets, forcing them to kill while their own consciousness remains trapped underneath. That idea alone becomes horrifying because the victims are aware of everything happening yet powerless to stop it. The violence is brutally intimate. Murders happen at close range with shattered faces, broken jaws, and horrifying stabbings filmed in cold silence. Brandon Cronenberg avoids flashy action choreography. Every act of violence feels ugly, raw, and emotionally dead. One particular sequence involving a fire poker became infamous among horror audiences because of its unbearable realism. What truly disturbs viewers is the collapse of identity. Tasia begins losing the ability to separate herself from the bodies she possesses. Memories blur together. Personalities overlap. Human beings become disposable tools controlled by corporations interested only in profit and efficiency. The film suggests consciousness itself can become infected and corrupted. Many casual viewers expected stylish, futuristic science fiction and instead encountered one of the coldest films of the decade. Possessor does not simply ask whether technology can control people. It asks whether human identity means anything once corporations learn how to rewrite consciousness itself. Number 3. Videodrome, 1983. Long before the internet poisoned attention spans and social media blurred reality, David Cronenberg created a movie that seemed insane to audiences in 1983. Today, Videodrome feels terrifyingly prophetic. James Woods plays Max Wren, a television executive searching for more violent and shocking content to boost ratings. Then he discovers a mysterious pirate broadcast called Videodrome. The program contains nothing except torture, murder, and suffering. At first, Max believes it is staged entertainment. Soon he realizes the signal itself causes hallucinations, brain tumors, and psychological mutation. The deeper Max falls into Videodrome, the more disturbing the film becomes. Television screens breathe like living organs. Human flesh opens into grotesque wounds capable of swallowing weapons and videotapes. Reality starts collapsing entirely. Cronenberg presents technology not as a tool, but as an infection capable of rewriting the human mind. Debbie Harry's performance adds another layer of discomfort because her character seems fascinated by pain and self-destruction. Nobody in the film feels emotionally stable. Everyone appears seduced by decay. Even conversations feel feverish and dangerous. When released, many critics dismissed Videodrome as disgusting exploitation. Decades later, it became recognized as one of the most intelligent psychological horror films ever made. The movie predicted a future where people willingly merge with screens until media itself begins reshaping reality. That future no longer feels imaginary. Number 2. Event Horizon, 1997. When Event Horizon first released, many critics treated it like another loud science fiction horror movie. Audiences expecting simple space action quickly discovered something far uglier hiding beneath the explosions and darkness. Over the years, the film earned a terrifying reputation because viewers realized it was essentially a haunted house story trapped inside deep space. The plot follows a rescue crew investigating the Event Horizon, a massive spaceship that vanished years earlier after testing an experimental gravity drive. The ship suddenly reappears near Neptune, broadcasting fragmented distress signals filled with screaming and Latin phrases. Once the crew boards the vessel, everything begins falling apart, psychologically. Unlike ordinary sci-fi thrillers, the ship itself feels evil. Hallways pulse with unnatural sounds. Shadows appear alive. Crew members begin seeing hallucinations pulled directly from their deepest guilt and trauma. The horror becomes deeply personal. One man sees visions of a child he failed to save. Another confronts terrifying memories of self-destruction. The ship weaponizes human suffering against them. What makes Event Horizon unforgettable is its hopeless atmosphere. Space no longer feels wondrous. It feels cursed. Isolation becomes spiritual damnation rather than scientific exploration. The film transforms the unknown universe into a place where humanity was never meant to travel. Number 1. RoboCop, 1987. Most people remember RoboCop as a violent action classic filled with explosions, dark humor, and futuristic weapons. What many forget is how horrifying the movie actually becomes once the satire fades away. Beneath the entertaining surface sits one of the cruelest visions of corporate-controlled humanity ever filmed. Officer Alex Murphy begins as an honest policeman, trapped inside a collapsing Detroit, consumed by crime, corruption, and greed. Then, one of the most shocking scenes in 1980s cinema changes everything. Murphy is brutally executed by criminals in a sequence so savage audiences still react to it decades later. Bones explode. Flesh tears apart. The violence feels intentionally excessive because director Paul Verhoeven wanted viewers to feel human life becoming meaningless. Murphy's corpse is then transformed into RoboCop by a corporation interested only in profit and military contracts. His memories are suppressed, his emotions are treated like software errors. The company literally rebuilds a dead man into commercial property. That idea alone remains deeply disturbing. As Murphy slowly regains fragments of his humanity, the film becomes emotionally darker. He remembers his family, yet cannot return to them. He remembers his murder, but no longer fully feels alive. RoboCop exists between man and machine, trapped in permanent psychological isolation. The world surrounding him feels equally hopeless. Executives joke about death during business meetings. News broadcasts turn violence into entertainment. Corporations hold more power than governments. Verhoeven disguises horrifying social commentary beneath crowd-pleasing action scenes. That is why RoboCop continues disturbing audiences nearly 40 years later. It is not just a science fiction movie about a cyborg policeman. It is a warning about what happens when capitalism finally decides human beings are cheaper to own than to save. Some science fiction movies age badly. Others become more terrifying because reality slowly catches up with them. These films did exactly that. Years later, they no longer feel like fantasy. They feel like warnings we ignored. And honestly, that might be the most disturbing part of all. These movies were supposed to entertain audiences with futuristic worlds and shocking visuals. Instead, they exposed humanity at its weakest and most horrifying. That is why these films still disturb viewers decades later. Not because the science feels impossible, because deep down many of their darkest predictions no longer feel like fiction at all.